Introduce you. Great, Simon. This is our last presentation of the day, but not our least. Yes, so earlier on, if you were with us all day, you remember me talking about Simon Brown being around at the beginning, at the pre-beginning of the Feng Shui Society. You called it the East West Centre. I referred to it as the Community Health Foundation, but it was the same operation, and a whole school of people from that macrobiotic background came together, energy of the person and the body, and evolved into that Feng Shui movement. So, and you're still here, Simon, congratulations. And so, folks, what we have done is we honoured Simon with a fellowship of the Feng Shui Society in recognition of all those years, 30 plus years of experience and pioneering in the world of Feng Shui. So congratulations, Simon. Mm-hmm. And Simon's now going to talk to us about person-centered Feng Shui, which fits very much, you know, the influence of Qi on the body and the mind. You know, here we are talking about the environment, the person is not separate. Simon already alluded to the fact that he was working in the early days with William Spear, and that he did a lot of training with Takashi Yoshikawa. You will remember, Simon, that I met Takashi, and you may recall that he sent me flying east around the world on a certain date. Mm-hmm. He gave me 3 dates, which was with one week's notice, and off I got on a plane to Japan and San Francisco and came home again, and my world changed. And that's another story. Takashi was brilliant. Simon is the author of 9 best-selling Feng Shui books, including the Feng Shui Bible. He also has one of the 3 accredited Feng Shui schools that the Feng Shui Society has. And as we talked before, teaching people in his home base, but also a lot of online education. So Simon, welcome to this presentation. I'm handing over to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Gina. Hello, everyone. So I just want to give a little bit of context to what follows. And it's basically this idea that as humans, we have minds, and the minds are constructed by a certain kind of biology, a certain mix of cells and neural pathways. And so there's a structure to the mind. And from birth onwards till our current age, our minds are highly conditioned by school, education, parents, etc. So we have a particular biology of mind that's common between us, but we could say conditioned by our own life journey. And I think to begin with, we have to ask ourselves, is this mind that we happen to have, are the thoughts that go on inside it likely to be a true reflection of what's happening outside? And we'd probably have to say no. You know, the chances of us understanding the universe are tiny. I like that phrase, we know what we know what we don't know, and we don't know what we don't know. So I know how to work my computer. I know I don't know how to code it. I couldn't write the programs that it uses. I know that. But beyond that, there's so much I don't even know. I don't know. And in an infinite universe, the bit that I don't know is almost infinity. It's huge. You know, the bit that I think I might know is tiny. And so I think for all of us, we have to start from that perspective. Anything we think we know is really a reflection of our thinking, not reality. And because of that, then we need different ways of approaching subjects. We can't really just rely on theory and thinking, in my view. So, of course, we can use our senses, which we're going to look at today. But even our senses, we have to remember our eyes operate in a tiny amount of the electrical frequencies that are available to us. Our ears work with a very limited range of sound waves, and so it goes on. We operate in a very small spectrum of the whole universe. So, but if we acknowledge that, if we know that, then we can work with that. But it means that question marks appear everywhere in whatever we do. So let me share my screen. And you just need to allow me, Gina, to share my screen. Yep, okay, great, thanks. And so this is one way we can explore the idea that how we work. Sorry, I just want to take this off.
Simon, do you want to press the play button and it should fill your screen, I think.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
If you do play, let's have a look. Yeah, it takes over.
Yeah, okay. All right, so remember that everything we're made of, we find in nature. We have no materials, nothing inside us is unique to humans on the basic level. And most of what we are is simply a flow of water. When we see other humans, you can imagine they're big bags of water. That's 60 to 70% of what we are. And that water isn't ours, it's flowing through us. We drink water, we process it, it comes out again, and then we drink more water. It's a big flow of water, and water's most of what we find in nature anyway. So we are, in that sense, a flow of water. But what we find is that, like all species, there's a lot of copying and repetition from nature to humans, humans to animals, and so it goes on. We recover, in a sense. So our nervous system on the left is very similar to trees and other plants, in fact. Our brains are very similar to walnuts and chestnuts and other things. Our intestines would be similar to a snake. A snake really is a big intestine with a head on the end and the ability to move through outside muscles. But that's similar to the winding rivers we see. The arteries of our heart on the left are very similar to various plants. Oh, lungs on our left, sorry. Strawberries and hearts. This is the artery system, but it's very similar to the frost you can see on the window, and spirals in the head, in the hair. We see a lot in nature. The eyes can look very similar to pictures of our universe. Toes and roots. And so what we could say is basically we are nature. There's nothing special about humans from a chemical point of view or a biological point of view. And if we are nature, we could also say we're hugely connected to it. Nature's passing through us. And obviously we've grown out of nature, but because of that, we can't really separate ourselves from nature, even though we're wearing clothes, living in houses and having different lives, we still are nature. And it's not just, as we looked before, the physical parts of nature, but also nature in terms of time and cycles and frequencies. So we are hugely influenced by the day cycle, the circadian rhythms. And part of what's happening is that the sun emits an enormous amount of photons. Those photons, I don't know if you've tried putting your hand over your eye, they'll come through your skin. You can see the orange if you're looking at the sun and so on. So they penetrate our skin, and the photons are packages of energy coming out of the sun. And in that sense, the sun is literally coming inside us. And with the sun is coming electricity, all kinds of solar energy, plus we would say huge amounts of qi. And that would be very yang qi. The moon also is going to affect us. Again, it's sending us light, photons reflected from the sun. And we find ourselves very influenced by the lunar cycles. The data shows that we go to hospital more often at the full moon. Children get born more at the full moon. And we're more likely to have car accidents and all kinds of things. We become more yang in general at the full moon and more yin at the yin moon. If it's a clear night and you can go out and look at the stars, you're going to see the stars, particularly if you're somewhere dark without artificial lights around you. As you're seeing those stars, photons are coming from the stars into your eyes, and that's how you see them. But of course, like the sun, it's not just that the photons from the stars are coming onto our skin everywhere. So if you were star bathing on a warm night in your bikini or bathers, the energy of the stars, the photons, will be coming to your skin everywhere. Obviously, it's not as strong as the sun, and we can't feel it in the same way, but it's still happening. We're still connecting to that energy. So in Chinese thinking, San Cai, we have this strong flow of qi between the sun and the earth. The sun is yang, the earth is yin, but we operate between them. And as such, we're the middle line in a trigram. The top line would represent the sun and the stars, the bottom line, the earth. Humans are in the middle. So we have this very powerful energy of nature coming through us. We're unusually vertical beings. There's koala bears and kangaroos, a few in Australia, but otherwise, most animals, their spine is horizontal. In the right position, our head is closer to the sun, our feet are closer to the earth, and we have this flow of qi coming through us, and it's a polarity between the yin and the yang of the sun and the earth. So we have this movement of qi, which is very strong, and we could say is part of being a human, part of what might make us different from the horizontal creatures. Then we can put a calendar. So the bottom of this circle would be the night, the new moon and the winter. So a clock and two calendars over the human body, and we would come round to our right side, left on the drawing. That would be the up springtime morning energy. Then we come to the top, the full moon, summer, daytime energy. Then we start coming down this side to the earth or soil, the afternoon, late summer energy. Then we get to the metal, which would be our autumn sunset. So what we're looking at, or what the Chinese looked at, was how we would look at time and apply it to space in the human body. So basically what's being said is that our bladder and reproductive organs are like the water in 5 elements, but that's essentially the nighttime and the winter and the new moon. And then we could say the same for the liver with the springtime morning, the heart for the summer, midday, full moon, and so on coming around. We'll look at this a bit more. So those 5 element energies apply to the human body, and they have directions. So this morning, springtime, it's like the sun coming up in the morning. It's a rising energy. The sun gets to the top, and then we have our midday sun. It's a radiating outward energy. Sun starts to go down in the afternoon. We have this descending earth energy. Then we come to the evening, and the sun's kind of going inside as it goes over the horizon, or we could say in the autumn, nature's going back inside herself. And that's this more inward energy. So sometimes we can work with someone who has a problem and ask them, what kind of energy would you like more of? Do you feel that you could succeed better at work if you had more up energy? And if so, would you want it to move faster, be more yang, or slower and be more yin? Someone else might be looking for a new relationship. Would it help if you were more outgoing, more extrovert, more social? Would this we can think of the heart energy as love. If you could project that better, would it help you find a new or start a new relationship? And if the person said yes, well, then we would know that fire energy is going to be part of the solution. And we can look at the earth soil energy as being downwards. Someone's very much in their head, but having loads of ideas, but not really doing them. Would it help move the energy away from the head and become more practical? If so, then earth energy is going to be helpful. Metal would be that inner strength. So rather than being extrovert and outward, would it help to develop ourselves from the inside and get that strength of metal there, be more persevering, have more endurance and so on? And then finally, water. If we're struggling a bit in life, sometimes it's simply that we're not being flexible. If we are more water, we find our way around the obstacles rather than hitting them and trying to push them out of the way. And so often we might find that just the easy flow of energy might help us get past a current problem. So we can look at these 5 elements in the human body. And just to remind you, they're based in time originally. The yin yang and the 5 elements came from Chinese calendars, we could say, and then they're applied to space. So we're thinking of time. So the liver then relates to the morning and the sunrise in time, mixing time and space always. But we can apply the same 5 elements, the same kind of chart to a building. So here I put a chart on top of an apartment, and that would then give us this idea, because it's exactly the same chart as we apply to a human, that we're connecting the 2 up. The chart is the same whether it's the person or the building, and therefore we can cross-reference or correlate between the 2. So the liver part of the body would be on the left of this drawing. The bladder part of the body would be in the where the doorway is in the north part of the building, and so on. So we're easily able to make a connection just by thinking about the 5 elements on the body, and then thinking about the 5 elements in the building, in the premises. It's the same thing, it's the same energy pattern, and we're looking at it in the human and looking at it in the floor plan of a space. So back to the human. On the left, we're showing this rising energy of the wood. And this works with the middle drawing, which is the woman with the yellow pattern where the energy is moving down. So here we have wood and earth working together. If you notice, it's all the middle organs, the liver, gallbladder, spleen, pancreas, and stomach. They're all across the middle, just at the bottom of our ribs, and they're all controlling up and down in Qi and Chinese medicine, and being controlled by up and down. So the liver can be stimulated by up moving Qi, but it can also help create up moving Qi. And the point here is that these middle organs then are going to work with those areas or those elements in the house. So if we had lots of plants, it would start to work with that liver energy. If we had a very earthy kind of house, then it's going to start working with the energy of the spleen, pancreas, and spleen. So we're cross-referencing the 2. Next, we could look at the second woman in red, that's the fire energy, the heart and the small intestines, linked with the smallest woman in gray, that's the metal energy of the lungs and intestines. If you notice, the fire heart is inside the metal lungs, and then again, the fire small intestines is inside the colon. So in the human body, fire is inside metal. It's a bit like, imagine an oven, and you have the fire inside, that would be our fire, and then outside you have the bricks or the iron to contain the fire. So those work together in the human. Sometimes we're very expressive, very outward going. We go to a party, have some wine, and get very excited, start dancing, talking to loads of people. Maybe if we had too much wine, we're telling everyone how much we love them before we leave, and so on. But that would be fire energy kind of flowing or radiating very easily. And the metal has become passive. We could say the metal is our inhibitions. So when we lose our inhibitions, we're losing our metal. But later we might think, oh God, I've got a load of work to do. I've got to focus. I've got to get out of social mood into, finishing something, maybe the next day. And then we have to bring the fire back in and contain it better with the metal. Sometimes if we party too much, we kind of use up too much metal and become run down. Sorry, too much fire and become run down. And we need to use our metal to kind of rebuild the fire inside. So those two work together, and it would be a bit like if we would, the left would be the morning, the fiery would be in the midday, the earth in the afternoon, the metal in the evening, and then the last woman on the right, the water, would be our sleep if we're looking at the day. So the water's redistributing our energy, getting it ready for the morning. So when we wake up, we're feeling ready to go. And that tree, that wood energy, can really give us the enthusiasm as we wake up and get started. But we'll see later, we can relate these all to our home. Just something else that I like is that when we were a baby, before we were born, when we're still a fetus, in the latter months, we would start to adopt this position, which means that certain things are forming or developing at the same time. So the hands would be close to the heart, the wrists close to the lungs, the knees would be close to the middle organs, the liver, stomach, spleen, etc. The colon would be close to the elbows, the ankles and feet would be close to our bladder and reproductive organs. So in acupuncture, we find that loads of good points for the heart on the hands, lots of good points for the lungs on the wrists, colon on the meridians of the colon on the elbows, and so it goes on. So things that we adopted as fetuses, in terms of energy, carry all the way through into adult life, and we still operate in that way. So in Chinese medicine, we therefore have meridians. It's the path of energy that helps move energy into a certain area or into a certain direction. And what we'll notice, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but you can easily find it on the internet and in books, is that basically speaking, if we're standing on the ground on a sunny day, everywhere that the sun shines will be more yang in qi. So our head, our shoulders, the outsides of the arms, the front of our body, the sides and the back, and the outsides of our legs, back and front of our legs, all have a yang flow of qi. It's all being fed by the sun. And for the most part, it's coming from our head. If you remember the San Cai slide, moving down our body to our feet and into the earth. We're like a big lightning conductor in that sense. Meanwhile, the earth energy is coming up the insides of our legs. So we have our yin meridians on the insides of the legs, which then go inside the body and up. And from our armpits to hands, on the inside, the shady part of our arms, we have another 3 yin meridians. So the chi of the body is very influenced by the sun, and we can generally say the sun influenced meridians are all yang and the earth influenced meridians are all yin. So if I was to be wanting to harness that energy to its most, I could be at a standing desk working away, and even better if I was barefoot on a natural floor, I would connect up that polarity between the sun and the earth and be working well. My meridians would be stretched out. If I was getting a bit tired of my feet on the floor, I could sit on a stool. Wouldn't be quite as strong, but it would still be effective. But if I decided to sit in a chair like I am now, then I'm moderating it further. It's more relaxing. The chi flow's not so dramatic, so that can be handy. If I then later watched a film and lay on the sofa, I'm no longer vertical, and I'm kind of switching off that polarity. So often when we're tired or sick, we lie down because we want to slow our chi down, make ourselves more yin for the purposes of healing. Just remind me, Gina, when do we finish? What time?
It's 2:17 and you finish at 2:25.
2:25?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just go a bit quicker. So we're all familiar with this idea of the energy around us with the 5 animals, and it's very common in Qigong. The outward phoenix energy in front, the protective energy of the tortoise behind, and then the dragon and the tiger to our sides. It kind of works with the meridians, and what we're trying to do is make the most of those energies in any space. Sit with our back to the wall and the open space in front for the tortoise and phoenix. And the idea is that wherever we are, we carry this energy with us, and then we try to fit it in with the space. Okay, I'm not going through all of this, but if you think of humans as a flow, we have an incredible movement of things coming into us on all levels. Could be light and oxygen and food, and sun we've talked about. But we could also say that a compliment is something that comes into us. Love can come into us. Someone helps us, that's an energy that comes into us. The energy of our home can come into us. More than that, if I'm reading a book, that's a kind of input. It's the ideas are coming into me, the energy is coming into me, and so on. So we have a huge range of things coming into us, and you could make a list of what you think are the most influential. It's a nice exercise. We have a lot of internal processes, transformation, things that we do inside with the energy that comes to us. And then we let things come out. So I'm talking to you, so that's an expression. I'm sending energy back out again. But it could be going for a run, playing sports, it could be dancing, it could be painting. Many, many ways we're expressing energy back out again. So when we think of a human, it's really a transformation, a process of moving energy in and out. And almost anything's going to influence and change that. You could watch a film, you love it, it's inspiring, and your chi is going to be different afterwards. You could read a book and it could be amazingly educational and motivating, and your chi is going to change. You could meet up with a friend and have a great conversation. You'll feel different, and our energy is different. So lots of things, whether it's big or small, are changing our energy all the time. And of course, our home is one of them, but it's only one of a huge number. So we can look at energy in general. This is kind of interesting because lots of species work together. I don't know if anyone's read The Secret Life of Trees, but through their roots, they're communicating, they're feeding each other, they're warning each other of predators coming in, and they even organize when they're going to drop their seeds and things together. Bees obviously work together, birds, fish. We have in nature lots and lots of collaboration. And I suspect that for humans, our success is all largely predicated around how good we are at collaboration with other humans, not just, could be dogs and cats and other things. So when we see movement in nature, because we're nature, it's really a reflection of what's happening inside us too. So, as we see this water move, it's like the circulation of fluids in our body. Sometimes it's still and reflective. Sometimes it's very dramatic and we feel different. We could easily describe our emotions through nature. We feel stormy, we feel calm, we feel like a thunderstorm. It's and it's a good language because it's a good reflection of what we're finding in self. So when we observe nature, we're getting a kind of glimpse into what we're seeing inside us at the same time. I don't know if I love thunderstorms and lightning. It's terribly exciting, and the electrical charges I find amazing. I don't seem to have any fear of getting struck by lightning, but anyway, it's I find it very dramatic and fiery. But in there, all kinds of things are happening, and we can find analogies. If there's a natural fire starts, it really clears out the forest, and maybe we need that dramatic fire in our own lives, sometimes to change our own chi, to have a release. Here we are in the summer, the tulips are opening, they're having that expanding, radiating energy of fire. This is more earthy, that time of year when nature's changing, but these things happen inside our body as well. It's all the same kinds of process that we can see inside or outside. We probably don't want to see this happening to our skin, but it can do if we don't look after it well. Here's our evening, metal energy. We're coming into the rocks, the stones. It's interesting that if anything, and maybe Christian could tell us more about this later, but if the universe is full of frequencies, it's most likely that on our planet, it's the hardest things that will resonate to those frequencies, not the soft things. And therefore, we could see the metal, the rocks. If we lay on some rocks for a while, could we get some of the messages out of the universe? In the ancient 5-element thinking, the Zen approach or Shintoist approach, yes, we could. They used to go to the mountains to get new ideas and messages from the universe about what to do. So this sort of landscape is great for that. But then, little story quick. So I lived, I'm actually in Shoreditch now. So I have a flat in Shoreditch, and I lived there for 6 or 7 years. Then I had the opportunity to buy this flat as well in Lisbon. And this was pre-COVID, so I started living here as well. I was sort of thinking if I'd take life more easily. There's some schools in Lisbon I could teach at. They would do everything. I just had to turn up in the classroom, get the class and come home, which would be like super easy. Then, of course, COVID came along and that all fell by the wayside. But out of this space, this chair you can see and the table, I kind of managed to relaunch my career online and start, and I met a new person, and after a while, she got pregnant. So it was a hugely life-changing space to be in. And I didn't calculate any of that. I certainly didn't plan it either. But I feel like I was sort of adjusting the space as time went by, not necessarily using theories, but my own experience of it. And out of that, I have to say it was hugely successful. And not only that, when I moved to somewhere else in Lisbon, a bigger place, I was able to sell this house at, I think I made about 25% profit in 3 years, which was great. It really helped me move to the next place. So I'm always interested to reflect on my life and where things happened, what they were like. Anyway, so here, colors are hugely influential. The sun gives us a huge range of light frequencies that we can see. The color of the walls just reflects the frequencies of that color. So in this space, I would be getting a lot of blue frequency light coming to me, coming to my eyes, of course, and affecting my mind, and my thinking, but also still coming to my skin. And if we have a outer energy field, an aura or a chi, it's coming through that as well and affecting it. So interesting how we can use that kind of water energy in design. Blacks and blues can combine to give us more, and in this case with metal, so we've got water and metal supporting each other. It's a nice energy for if we wanted to have more of that fluid, flexible energy. So just some quick pictures. This is like extraordinary thing, but it's a very glossy painted wall. But to me, you know, mirrors and shiny looks like water. I wouldn't choose this for myself or recommend it, but just to look at it, it's quite it's like the bed's floating on a lake or something. Contrast, when we're thinking about colors, mixing fire and water, they're opposites. But it's a nice, it's more dramatic, we could say. If we just have lots of fire, it's a bit full on and very fiery, but not quite as dramatic as mixing it, in this case, with the water. You know, this we could say glass is a water feature, but on a sunny day, this would become hugely fiery inside. Views, according to the research, make an enormous difference to our health. Plants affect our parasympathetic nervous system greatly, and therefore we can heal better, we can be more creative, we can think differently, and so on. So this would be great. It's not a house, it's somewhere you can stay, but can you imagine sleeping out in the woods under the glass right next to it? Ah, someone's entering. Gina, can you let Julie in?
Yep. And
so from water to wood, we can use wood itself or high ceilings, plants. This is a very popular restaurant in Shoreditch, cafe. I love it. Feels great to be there. They're all real plants and they're all over the shelves on the right. You can't see, but it's really nice. I had dinner here with Philippa, just two of us at this big table. And everything's wood, the floor, the walls, didn't actually feel very woody to me. So sometimes we have to be careful. The theories don't always match reality. Maybe because it was such a brown colored room, it affected me more in an earthy way. But his, I guess it's got everything, the high ceilings, the greens, the wooden furniture, would make it sort of, if you like, unconsciously feel that we're in the woods a little bit. For the energy of the east and southeast, that wood energy, we can use a light sky blue as opposed to the blues we were looking at earlier. So this could work as a more uplifting up energy for wood. Same here. Vertical forms. This is a cafe that I used to go to in London. Also inspiring, high ceiling, lots of vertical spaces. I used to like it. I used to get lots of ideas and make notes there. More classical, moving into the pinks, which would be starting to be more what we could call yin fire, relaxing fire, more yang fire, a bit more dramatic. Well, this would be hugely stimulating. I think I'd really like to go to a room like this and spend some time, but I wouldn't decorate my house like this. I just don't think I could live all the time in such a space. But I can't help but feel it when I've been to hotels like this. It does feel very special and exhilarating, sort of very fiery. Even more so here. But can you see when it's all red, doesn't quite have the contrast, and therefore polarity, contrast, strong difference of yin yang or opposites in the elements creates movement. The more polarity we have in nature, the greater the movement. So high and low tide creates huge currents, strong currents. High air pressure, low air pressure creates wind. And the bigger the difference, the stronger the wind. So it's the same with qi. Sometimes we only need a few colors, the sofa and a couple of paintings to add the fire. Symbolism. It's always interesting, I think. We think in language now, but that wasn't always the case. We haven't always had language. And how did we think without language? How would you think now if you didn't have language in your head? And could you do it? You could, but we would have to use images all the time. We would have to be very visual. Or we could try and use sounds, but they'd just be like the sounds of the wind or the sounds of the waves or something. But once we take language out of our mind, we can see it works very different. If we develop without language, with our thinking, we still have that ability, and it's probably likely to come through symbolism more than anything else, which is why we still, I'm not sure if anyone's old enough, but in the 70s, bumper stickers started appearing with a round yellow smiley face, and people cars. And it was very popular. People like that symbolism. But now, of course, I can't really look at a message without seeing the same thing from the 70s, that smiley face. And so the emojis have taken over. But they're very popular because they probably resonate in our unconscious mind. It doesn't need language. It's resonating with us, with this symbolism. So, artwork, all kinds of things. Here we have an interesting situation, huge windows, lots of light. On a sunny day, it's going to be very fiery. On a wet day, it's going to be more watery. So it's going to change with the weather and the seasons hugely. More earthy kind of decorating, more down to earth. If we wanted to be very earthy, we would be on bean bags sitting on the floor. The closer we can get our body to the earth, the better. But here, the rugs, the yellow walls, it all helps create that more earthy ambience. This one's very nice. Can you see the sort of stone walls coming through the floor? It used to be a stone circle for keeping animals. And when they built the house there, they preserved the stone wall and just built the house over it. Really nicely done. It's a lovely space. We stayed there for a while and felt very nice. But you certainly, and you could sit on the stones, certainly it's a small aspect in the whole room, but strong enough to give it a very deep, earthy sensation. Here we are, more yang earth, we could say, bright yellows. More yin earth with the light browns. Oh, sorry, we're also coming onto the metal as well here with the white walls, white bedroom. Genevieve looked at some of those. I think it's interesting that modern houses nearly always have kitchens and bathrooms in metal. And it turns out it's quite handy. It's a useful energy most of the time, given that they have a lot of water in those spaces. So the metal combines that water with earth, and we often find it useful in Feng Shui. extreme metal, we could say, but still the metal bathroom is dominating. His using greys and whites, back on the bathroom, and that sort of metally feel. Okay, so let me stop sharing.
Who's that?
And
Wonderful, thank you.
yeah, thank you. So just to summarize quickly, what I think the main key point is we are nature. So always think of ourselves in terms of nature. If we use the language of nature to describe ourselves, we're sort of tapping into a much more natural language that I would say is much closer to the possible reality of what's happening. If I was to say I feel like a very still lake today, I think everyone would know what that means and almost relate to the feeling. If I said I feel like it's a stormy day and I'm right there in the sea and being tossed around by the waves, we can relate to that. But it's the language of who we are. Anyway, taking that way we are nature, we're then trying to work out or explore our relationship with nature and to what extent can we influence it. And of course, because we are a process, so everything's coming into us, nature, but ideas, love, all kinds of things being transformed and then expressed out. We only have to change a few of those things, either coming in or internal processing or the giving out, and everything else will change too. It's that sort of idea that we can change our whole life by just changing one or two things in our own transformation of energy. And if we can get that right, it's very powerful. Most of the time, all of us, however long we've done Feng Shui or anything else, are sort of in a process, I would say, of preparation, of learning. We're like animals. They're not busy all day. Lions are lying down most of the time, and they're ready. And when they're hungry, they can pounce and get their food. We're the same, I think. We have to accept that we have long periods of stillness and preparation and getting ready, and then there's a bit of drama and we shoot forwards in our life and then we get still again and so on. It's just what we see in nature. Anyway, any questions?
Let's look on the chat. Yeah, I would. People are thanking you and going. And Darina, okay, Darina, go ahead.
Yeah, I have just a very short, not really a question, a comment, or maybe a question. When you were showing these beautiful rooms of hotels, the one that were a bit oriental with a bit of fire energy, I think that sometimes it can be for 2 days or 2 nights, 3 nights, very refreshing and very positive effect. But when you stay there for 3 months, it can be maybe even damaging. It's just what I think, that it's the time is also important. The length, how long we stay somewhere.
For sure. I use those things. If I can stay somewhere, feel a change, I look for the clues. What do I think influenced me the most? And of course, I'm not going to completely redecorate my home like the hotel, but I could use very small parts of those clues and experiment with them at home and see how they work. And then if I feel it's helpful for me, then share those with clients. But working with clients, I would say, as we said in our little chat, I try to be more educational than prescriptive. I try and help someone understand how they are nature and how they can be influenced by things, and see if I can help them on a journey of their own, exploring those processes and the changes. Because I think in the end, that if we're trying to be ethical, we want to empower people to heal themselves. I'm using healing in the biggest sense of the word, but make themselves more successful, whatever they want to do. and if we can make ourselves redundant, because then we've, you know, it's like having children. I would love my children, and I'm sure they will, to go further than I could in this lifetime and do more than me. And but I don't want them to be like me, but I want them to, you know. So it's the same with my students. It's the same with my clients. You know, I really hope that I can give them that little spark of sending them somewhere that will then flourish and grow and develop them and be their journey, not mine.
Yes, thank you very much. It was a wonderful presentation, and also made me think of that experimenting sometimes can be valuable, like daring to experiment and feel what it does. Like you do different energies you showed in different designs, different rooms. Thank you. Thank
No,
you.
you're welcome. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Do we have any last questions before we close here? Suzanne, okay, go ahead, Suzanne.
Just a comment, Simon. With what you said last, it reminds me that one of perhaps the best questions during a consultation with a client might be, what's the one thing here that they could do which would really make the biggest difference? Because often we're so full of, you know, lots of stuff, but sometimes it's picking that one thing that can be really powerful.
Yes, for sure. No, I agree. You know, I quite like that 80-20 kind of idea where that Italian farmer found that 80% of his peas came from 20% of his pods. And then he found that this happens a lot in nature. And I think it's true. If you had a list of 10 suggestions, 2 of them are probably going to make 80% of the difference to the client. And then, of course, which 2 is it? Sometimes that's a conversation with the client, but that's where we become highly effective if we can find what's going to create the biggest change with the least effort. You know, that's probably what all our clients want.
I think that's thank you for asking that question, Suzanne, because this is where, you know, conversations we've had about in the professionalism of Feng Shui, the ability to access information and glean it from the internet, kind of be your own Feng Shui consultant, make changes. You know, we can come up with 10 things that we could do, or we can go out and do that for other people. But it's the skill and the experience and the knowledge that you're talking about. It's which 2, isn't it? That's going to have the most effect in terms of the journey of becoming and practicing as a Feng Shui consultant. And how is it we support people in being able to determine from the plethora, the large number, or the 10 recommendations, suggestions to the client, which are the 2 that in this instance, at this time, in this place, for this person, will have the most impact. So I think that's an interesting note to end on. We've had a very full day. Thank you, Simon. That was a great presentation, and I'm so glad we have recorded it because we can all watch that again. And we had a great discussion in our breakout rooms, and much to think about, and definitely worth another conversation, very specifically to carry on that. Quite a few people are interested, so we will schedule that. But for now, I just want to thank all our speakers. I would like to thank all of you for showing up today. Congratulations to the Feng Shui Society for its 30 years. We're still here, and we're moving forward in a new age, a new era, new thoughts, new ways of tackling new and old problems. So I think it's a very exciting time for us all, and thank you, everybody. If we could look at gallery view, we can see everybody waving, applauding, and thanking you, Simon, for that great presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for organising it all, Gina. And
well, yes, Jan did a lot there.
Thanks. Okay. All right.
Bye, everybody.
See you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Christoph.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Genevieve's gone. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thanks for all your comments, questions. I wish I could stay longer, but I'm going to another event starting at 3.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, everybody.